A non-possessory interest in a piece of property is the right to use or to restrict the use of another person's land. The non-possessory part refers to the fact that the holder of the interest has rights and privileges related to a property, but doesn't actually possess the property. Non-possessory interests come in a number of forms. The most common form is the easement. This is a situation where someone has the right to access another person's property. The reasons for establishing an easement are varied, but usually come down to the need to get to something that is on someone's property or on the other side of it. A common example of an easement is one that allows access to a street for a property that otherwise would have none. Sometimes, a subdivision of a property will result in a plot that is boxed in by all the other plots and blocked from direct access to a public street. In this situation, it's normal to establish an easement through one of the properties that sits on the street. The owner of the boxed-in property uses the easement as means of getting from their property to the street and back again. Other forms of non-possessory interests may be issues such as profits, covenants, conditions and restrictions, CC&Rs, and equitable servitudes. Each kind of non-possessory interest restricts and limits one of the rights in an owner's bundle. A title with a cloud on it is a situation where there's something related to the title or property that interferes with the ability to effectively transfer the title to another person. Clouds on a title can come from outstanding mortgages, liens or other encumbrances, or land boundary disputes. Defects refer to problems with the title itself. This could be a misspelled name or vague legal description. Whatever the reason, the title has a problem with it, and for that reason, the title will be difficult to transfer. Liens, as we previously mentioned, are claims placed on a property usually because of an outstanding debt. Most loans used related to property require a piece of real estate be put up as collateral. The lien is the means of securing that collateral. If the borrower doesn't pay back the money they borrowed, the lender can try to seize ownership of the property. Since a lien means someone else has a possible ownership stake in a property, transferring the title becomes much more difficult. An encroachment is a situation where part of one person's property extends into another person's property. The reason an encroachment creates a cloud on a title is due to the fact that the encroachment makes it difficult to determine the property lines dividing two properties. We're revisiting non-possessory interests and title clouds because of their effect on the title transfer process. A title can be transferred if there are non-possessory interests on the property. However, they need to be disclosed to the buyer before the transaction is closed. Most non-possessory interests remain in place through a transfer of title. This makes them material to any transaction involving the property. A buyer needs to know about any restriction on the rights to the property they're about to acquire. Clouds, on the other hand, do interfere with title transfer. Often the transaction of a piece of real estate cannot be completed until clouds on the title are removed. Defects with the title itself can cast doubt on the current ownership of the property. Since the title is the legal basis of real estate ownership, errors undermine that basis. Liens create a situation where the lender has a hand on a property. That property is being used to ensure the repayment of a loan. If the title is transferred to another person, the property effectively stops acting as security for the loan. At the least, the position of the lender needs to be considered before the property, and its title can be sold to someone else. Encroachments create confusion about the physical limits of a property. This gets in the way of a transfer of title because of the uncertainty of what belongs to which property. No one wants to be promised a property with certain dimensions and then find out it's 100 square feet smaller. Neither would a neighboring property owner want to find out a chunk of their property now belongs to someone else. An uncertain property line can also end up invalidating the legal description of the property. This makes it much harder to determine which property is undergoing a transfer of title. Okay, now we're ready to get into the details of this topic.